Hello and welcome to Blue Army TV. I'm sitting here after Carlisle have been beaten 3-1 at home by Wycombe Wanderers in the last game of Brunton Park this season. And for me personally, the last game I'm going to be able to get to this season. You know, the away games coming to the end of the season, I'm not going to be able to get to any of them, which is a shame. But it's a defeat to, at the very least, round off my season and what will round off a lot of them home fan seasons today in what was a very low crowd, as you'll be able to see in that corner. But yeah, look, it's not really about the game today. Alfie McCallum, I think, played very well. Jordan Gibson and him were both back in the squad. McCallum starting and Gibson coming off the bench after them both being, suspended for behind the scenes issues, which we all know what that is. But yeah, the performances today aren't really what people are going to be talking about. I think what resonated with me especially is, especially when the players did that lap of recognition or something like a lack of appreciation, a lap of appreciation for the fans at the very least. I know I butchered saying that, but you know what I mean. And for me, I was looking at the players doing that, and you applaud them because that's what you're meant to do. But for me, I looked at a lot of them players and I thought, am I going to see you play for Carlisle United again? Now, obviously, we've got the games coming up till the end of the season. We've still got a Cumberland Cup final, which I'm sure a lot of the squad players will play in. But yeah, one that really stuck out for me is Thomas Hawley walking around the pitch today, and I can't lie, it did kind of get to me a little bit, because that's a player there that, look, I've slated him on this channel from time to time. I've been very critical of him, and he's been dropped this season, and probably rightfully so. But what nobody can ever doubt, in my opinion, and I'll argue with anybody who says otherwise, is that man genuinely cared for the club. I think a lot of people know that, and from last season you understood that from the moment he came into the club. I think he wanted to do well for Carlisle. He said promotion was the aim as soon as he came into the club. He said it's something he'd never really accomplished in his career up until now, and that he wanted to do that at Carlisle, and he has done that at Carlisle. He looked genuinely quite upset with that being his last game at Brunton Park. He didn't play, wasn't even in the squad, but it's probably the last time he'll be at Brunton Park. It's fairly accepted now that he will be gone in the summer, but I think it's important that we, remember when Thomas Hawley goes, I think he'll be remembered for the positives, especially that video that he released after the Champions League, after the playoff final at the end of last season, where he talks about how it was all for the fans. The victory was all because of the people there, and I think he was a real fan favourite for that. And yes, he hasn't had a good season today, and he's being replaced. But I'm such a big fan of Thomas Hawley as a personality. Maybe not too much as a keeper at the minute, at the League One level especially. But Thomas Hawley leaving the club, it's a true kind of cult hero leaving the club, and I think it's important that we remember him and his time at the club fondly, in my opinion. Oh, Christ, I'm talking like he's died, but it did upset me seeing him at full time. And knowing that that's probably the last time I'll see him at Brunton Park. But yeah, Thomas Hawley, if you listen to this, thank you for the service you've given to the club, and a lot of fans do appreciate it, despite how things have turned out this season. And I think a lot of players will be leaving now. I think Paul Simpson said in his interview after the game that even players under contract will probably leave, and I think that'll go for Jaden Harris, possibly Ben Barkley, maybe Sam Lavelle, perhaps Paul Huntington, and then you think of like Sean Maguire and Jordan Gibson, whose contracts are up at the end of the season, who will be going as well. There's a lot of players, and I know this season's put a dampener on a lot of players' kind of reputation at the club, but you've got to remember for players like Paul Huntington, Ben Barkley, Jordan Gibson, if they do end up leaving, the contribution they made to getting us promoted, and that promotion season that's going to be remembered for a long time now. I can't think of many that have joined in the summer other than maybe Sean Maguire or even in January that are now going to be leaving the club. Obviously, Jokkel Anderson will be gone. the loan players, Josh Coyote, I can't imagine he'll be back. Finn back, might come back. I feel like I've said back a lot now, but yeah, there will be a few that are gone. And I think it's important that we remember some of the positive contributions some of these players have had. And just understand that this season was a massive step in the wrong direction, I think, on the pitch. But off the pitch, it's been great. If you'd have offered me this at the start of the season, and I was asking myself this in the run-up to the match today, if you offered me the Piatex take over the club, but we go down, would I have taken it? I think I probably would have, because yes, it's a step backwards, but what's happened off the pitch this season is a massive step forward, and it's something that we've been crying out for years under the old owners. And yeah, it's disappointing that that's the last time I'm going to see the amazing kit from this season, which unfortunately, despite it being probably our best looking kit in a long time, it's going to be remembered for being a relegation shirt, which is unfortunate. But yeah, what can you do? We just need to look into the summer now. Big props to all the fans that'll be going to the away games coming to the end of the season. Derby being the last one that's been moved to a 12:30 kickoff. And anyone that can make that journey. I was originally going to go, but you change it to 12:30, it makes things a lot more difficult, and it will for a lot of people. And I think, especially with what's happened in the last few days with FA Cup replays, it's another example of how the FA just doesn't care about fans, and that goes for the EFL as an institution as well. It's just not something that they care about. It'll go down to 12:30, probably be on telly because of Derby getting promoted or whatever. Yeah, it's just another example of when fans have been put second, and you think of the FA Cup replays being scrapped. It's another thing of something that benefits the big clubs. They don't take into account fans or even just lower league clubs for that matter, and the benefits for them. But the FA Cup replays are a topic for another day. I think it's not something that I can that I have too much of an opinion on. I do think it's an absolute disgrace, but not for the reasons people kind of also think. I'm not too angry with the FA Cup replays being scrapped. That's not the problem for me. I think the problem for me is the fact that no lower league clubs were consulted about it. There's 700 odd teams in that competition. Only the top 20 were consulted. That's the worry for me. The worry isn't the decision, the end decision. It's the fact that 20 clubs can make a decision for 700. That's what's scary. Not the decision that's being made, but the precedent the precedent that puts forward, and the idea that that's okay to make such a big decision without consulting the vast majority of the clubs in the competition. That's what's worrying for me, not the decision that's been made. Which wouldn't have been made had all the other clubs been given their rightful say. But anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about. The game today, Alfred McCalmont, brilliant finish. I think I'm very, very worried about Harry Lewis. I think we've talked a lot about goalkeepers, but I'm very, very concerned about Harry Lewis going into next season. He hasn't impressed me at all. Maybe, we're getting a new goalkeeper coach in. Maybe that'll improve his form, but look, the first goal today, what's happening there? Why does Paul Simpson not sign keepers that can come for crosses? I think we had a brilliant one in Mark Howard who we let go, and I think Gabriel Breeze can do it, but Thomas Hawley struggled with it, and so is Harry Lewis now. They're both decent shot stoppers, but won't come for crosses and won't come off their line. The corner today, I think he's playing for a foul, and I think he's done it a lot this season and been very lucky, Harry Lewis, where he plays for a foul, and I don't think we can put ourselves in a position where our goalkeeper's trying to get fouled, because if it goes wrong, it goes very wrong, which is what happened today. Just be strong. Just as a goalkeeper, be strong. Come out and just claim it. Don't do any of this playing for fouls nonsense, because it most of the time it'll work. I'll give you that, because I think the league's gone soft. But when it doesn't work, like today, what happened to the days of keepers? It was never a thing. It was never a thing before the last few years, keepers trying to get fouled. And I think it needs to stop. And I think hopefully Harry Lewis has learnt his lesson. But yeah, the other 2 goals after that, the second one especially, my God, what's happening at the back there? It's such an avoidable goal, and the first 2 were incredibly avoidable. The third goal, I think, is a very well-worked goal from Wycombe, and I think, fair play, it's a good cross, it's a good header, it's a good passing movement leading up to it. But the first 2 were so avoidable that game probably should have finished 1-1. But yeah, it's a goal for Alf McCalman. He might be one that stays next season, I'm not too sure. But let me know, how many players do you think today have we seen play their last game for Carlisle? Jack Diamond back in the side I thought was interesting. I think he might be here next season by the looks of things. But we'll have to see what happens with that. But yeah, please let me know what you think in the comments. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and in a bit.